An extra 8 billion pesos in 2021 for the Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program to restore the bulk of the program funds earlier repurposed for the fight against coronavirus disease 2019. Deputy Speaker and Surigao del Sur Representative Johnny Pimentel said. Considering the foreign threats we are facing in the West Philippine Sea, we are assuring the Armed Forces of the Philippines of sustained funding support for its modernization projects, despite the coronavirus pandemic, Pimentel said. In the proposed 4.5 trillion pesos national budget for 2021, Pimentel said the Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program is getting 33 billion pesos in fresh funding, or 8 billion pesos higher than the usual 25 billion pesos annual allocation. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program was earmarked 25 billion pesos this year, but Department of National Defense earlier returned 9.4 billion pesos in unobligated program funds to the National Treasury to help the government's fight against COVID-19. Unobligated funds are appropriations that remain uncommitted by contract. Pimentel is a staunch backer of the Visiting Forces Agreement between the Philippines and the United States. The accord is in support of the Mutual Defense Treaty between the two countries. Pimentel also has bills seeking to reinforce the military by giving the Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff a more stable 36-month tour of duty. The military has acquired multiple new weapons systems and capabilities pursuant to the revised 15-year Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program, established by law in 2013. The latest acquisitions include 2 guided missile warships worth a combined 16 billion pesos for the Philippine Navy. The frigates BRPOs Arisal and BRP Antonio Luna are capable of launching missiles against hostile surface warships and aircraft, as well as torpedoes against underwater targets. Built by South Korea's Hyundai Heavy Industries Company, the BRPO's Arisal was put into service in July, while the BRP Antonio Luna is due for delivery this month. The Navy also plans to acquire 2 heavier warships missile-armed corvettes, worth a total of 30 billion pesos. Last month, the Department of National Defense also signed the contract for the Philippine Air Force's acquisition of a 5.5 billion pesos air surveillance radar system from Japan's Mitsubishi Electric Corporation. Mitsubishi Electric Corporation has signed a contract with the Philippines to deliver an air radar system, marking the first export of a new, complete defense product since Japan's long-held arms trade ban was eased in 2014. Mitsubishi Electric will transfer 4 radars based on a system employed by the Self-Defense Forces for about $100 million, 10.7 billion yen, the Defense Ministry said. The radars, which can detect approaching fighter jets and missiles, are expected to improve Manila's surveillance and monitoring capabilities. Promoting cooperation with the Philippines on defense equipment is important to secure peace and stability in the region as well as in our country, the ministry said in a statement. The conclusion of this contract is extremely significant. The transfer of defense equipment will strengthen Japan's defense industry, said the Defense Minister Taro Kono in a news conference. Japan is stepping up defense and security cooperation with the Philippines, one of the countries involved in territorial disputes with China, which has been increasing its military presence in the South China Sea. Since Japan removed in 2014 its all-out arms export ban imposed during the Cold War, it has exported parts for the PAC-2 mobile missile defense interceptors, produced under license in Japan, to the United States, but until now has not exported any complete, newly made defense product. In the policy change, the government adopted 3 principles on the transfer of defense equipment, amid concerns that easing its arms trade policies could hurt Japan's status as a pacifist state. The principles state that Japan will continue to embrace the basic philosophy of a pacifist state that abides by the UN Charter and allow arms exports only if they serve the purpose of contributing to international cooperation and its security interests. Japan will still prohibit, however, the export of weapons to countries involved in conflicts, and the ban will also apply when exports violate UN resolutions.